Hello, this is Mark Loeffner, Superintendent of Greater Clark County Schools, and welcome to our panel discussion on the cost reduction plan that was presented to the school board at the work session. With me today, to my right is Dr. Kim Hartledge, Deputy Superintendent. Also to my left is Laura Hubinger, our CFO, Certified Financial Officer, and also to my left is Chad Shank, our COO, Chief Operating Officer. Today we want to talk to you about our cost reduction plan and why it is necessary. There are three main reasons why this cost reduction plan was necessary and why a significant cost reduction plan was necessary to be created and presented to the board. The first reason is that the district is in a deficit spending model and has been for several years, and we have to fix that model. The second reason is that we have, because of the deficit spending over the years, we've depleted our cash balances to a dangerous level, and that has to be fixed. The third reason is at some point in the future, once our budgets are fixed, we need to find ways to move more resources to the classroom for teachers, for students, to improve the classroom experience. One of the things that was very intentional on our part when we created this cost reduction plan was to make sure, it was our guiding principle, number one guiding principle, is to make sure that these cuts did not impact the classroom experience for our students. And we believe that in this cost reduction plan, we've done that. You know, this plan does not have a significant impact on the student experience. Within this plan, you know, you will see that it does not cut teachers. It is not going to increase class sizes. It's not going to eliminate programs. It's not going to eliminate athletics or transportation or any of those items. So we feel like, within this cost reduction plan, we've followed that guiding principle of having a minimal impact on the classroom. This plan will do that, and we feel like as a corporation, it's the right thing to do to get us healthier financially as a district. Well, the top priority in our district is creating lifelong learners. Our mission is education. And so when you look at our budget situation right now, we're not able to provide as many resources as we would like to provide to the classroom, to the students, to the teachers. And so what we're asking the board to do is really shift how we manage our financial resources, and how we use our financial resources so that we can be more efficient with our financial resources. And this is a big shift. It's one that people are not used to. We understand that change is hard, but we believe that this cost reduction plan, will allow us to really, number one, fix our budget issues, but also in the future shift our financial resources to where we're getting more of those resources to the classroom, and to the students.
Yes, we went to the board since September 1st to describe the past history with our budget, and it's quite simple that we are not receiving the revenues in education. We get two main sources, with our property tax being one and the other being the money that comes from the state of Indiana. And it is not uncommon for school districts across the state to have to realign their expenses to meet the revenue expectations that we have and what we receive. So we are also governed by state agencies, several, and one that is called a Distressed Unit Appeals Board that evaluates all school districts and cash balances. And so what we want to do is make sure that we meet those expectations in order to provide the maximum and optimal learning environment for our students at Greater Clark County. In order for us to get in line with our expenditures to meet what revenues that we do have, it became prudent upon the superintendent to meet with his team, the team of educators, to come up with a cost reduction plan to ensure that we do not affect the classroom except in a positive way. So Superintendent, there are priorities to this cost reduction plan that you would like to share with the audience today.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, as I said before, our guiding principle was to have a minimal impact on the classroom and the student with this cost reduction plan. We also wanted to make sure that it was a balanced cost reduction plan, that we weren't just going to cut a bunch of teaching positions. You know, the easy thing for us would have been to just cut a bunch of teaching positions through attrition. You know, by that I mean teachers that just retire, resign, or leave the district, you know, and we just cut those positions through attrition. That's what superintendents have done in the past. We didn't feel like that was the right way to handle this situation because that would have increased class sizes. It would have put more pressure on principals to keep programs in their schools, you know, and we just didn't feel like that was the route to go. So, you know, we have worked on this for about 3 months as a cabinet. We've created a cost reduction plan to the amount of a little over $6 million. A little over $3 million of those cuts are in the operation fund, and there's a little over $3 million worth of cuts in the education fund. We've looked at everything, you know, that we can look at within this district, whether it's merging schools, transportation, outsourcing services. We've looked at everything you can imagine that you can look at in a budget to find cost reductions. And we feel like, I feel like as your superintendent, you know, my team that's sitting up here, also the rest of our cabinet members, have done a fantastic job of creating a cost reduction plan that does not significantly impact the classroom. You know, and we feel good, you know, about where this plan will take us financially in the future.
One of the cost-saving reductions that's been delivered to the school board members, and it will be delivered in great unison to all of the community members here later on this week, is the closure and the realignment of Bridgepoint Elementary School students. We looked at all different types of data points to come up with this recommendation. And the biggest recommendation for that was knowing that we want optimal learning environments. I think you've heard Mr. Loeffner, you've heard Mrs. Hubinger say that as well, and that's going to be a continual focus for our decision making. We want optimal learning environments for our students. Knowing that we have our brand new elementary school, Franklin Square Elementary, which is 3 miles for many students at the Bridgepoint, 3 miles to the west, and then our other newest elementary school, Riverside Elementary, which is 3 miles to the east. Realigning those students, we didn't feel like was a big impact to be made, and we combed over all different types of data points, a demographic study that showed us where the growth of the district is occurring, facility studies that have shown in order to bring Bridgepoint Elementary School up to that optimal learning environment, the heavy cost that was going to be involved in that, and knowing that we're in a budget reduction plan model, we felt like the realignment at Bridgepoint Elementary School made the most sense and was the least impactful for our students.
We pride ourselves in outstanding academic programs, and we know with our brand new Franklin Square Elementary School that we have room to absorb additional students and teachers. We believe strongly that it's important for our students at Bridgepoint to have some continuity in their program and see some familiar faces. So we will, through our staffing process, make sure that we transport those students to Franklin Square. It has plenty of room. It will not impact the class sizes in that building. And also the same with Riverside. Riverside is our second newest building in the district and has room to accommodate approximately 110 students, as well as teachers to follow those students. So everyone will be able to have a smooth transition and have some of the same familiar faces that they've seen at Bridgepoint throughout the years. Horton Porter has a strong tradition of supporting the students in that program over the years with great success. The program will still continue, just the location in which it exists will shift to Jeffersonville. The middle school program will exist at River Valley, and the alternative ed for middle school will now be housed at Parkview Middle School. We believe that the same great things can happen just in a different location. So Cordon Porter will not be dissolved in the support that it offers the students who attend there. It will just be shifted to a new location. Our related arts programming is very important as we try to support the whole child and the educational benefits that the arts provide to our students. So again, we will still be continuing to offer art, music, PE, technology, and all the great things that we've always provided to our students. We also are going to be able to deliver this model without any teacher losing a position. The position will just look different in the way in which it is proposed. There will be 4 coordinators who will oversee the programming in the buildings. Our staffing allocations will shift a bit so that each school will have additional certified positions based upon the formula. This will allow some flexibility in our buildings for all of the great things our teachers provide. 19 related arts specialists will be hired to help carry out the curriculum of the arts programming.
So again, to carry on the cost savings reduction plan, we have devised an implementation that will affect transportation, but we feel like it will affect transportation in a much more efficient way. We have a great 2-tier system that we've implemented and used for decades in the Charlestown area, where we have middle school and high school students riding, and then we have an elementary loop. The plan through this cost savings reduction will be to implement that same successful model here in Jeffersonville for the Jeffersonville Elementary, Middle, and High School. In doing so, we feel like we'll be able to optimize our routes. We're not suggesting or going to have any reduction of students that are going to be picked up. We're actually just going to be running these more efficiently, and we have cameras on all of our buses where we'll be able to real-time view, and we'll have strict guidelines for bus seating charts and things to ensure safety of students being picked up and dropped off and taken to school. The changes to our custodial maintenance labor group, again, Mr. Loeffner said earlier, change is hard sometimes, and this is a big shift. We know that there's some efficiencies that we've not realized. Since 2015, this district has been, in operations especially, has been spending more than we've been taking in as a revenue stream, and everyone knows you can't survive very long doing that. So in order for us to optimize our efficiencies in the operations fund, we feel like outsourcing and looking at a great partner will be the process moving forward. We're asking the board to approve the advertisement for a request for proposal to do just that, to seek out a partner that can truly outsource our custodial, our maintenance, and our labor. That includes everything. That includes the cleanliness of our buildings. It includes the atmosphere and the appearance of our buildings from the outside when it comes to landscaping and lawn care. And certainly it includes our HVAC and our electrical, mechanical, and plumbing processes. And we're going to have strict expectations and high expectations of cleanliness. It goes back to that optimal learning environment for all of our students. We're going to ensure that our buildings are clean, our buildings are safe, and that certainly we have a very, very good preventative maintenance and repair protocols in place.
We want to thank you for listening to this panel discussion on our cost reduction plan. We understand that changes like this, a cost reduction plan like this, creates stress in our community, stress for our teachers, stress for our students. But as Ms. Hubinger said, one of the things that we have to be very conscientious of is there are state agencies that monitor every school district's funds in the state of Indiana. That agency is called DUAB, or the Distress Unit Appeals Board. And they have fiscal indicators. Those indicators are, your enrollment, cash balances, your expenditures versus revenue. And the issue with our budget since 2015 is that we've been spending more money than we've been bringing in. It's as simple as that, which has depleted our cash balances. Our current administration, our current board did not create this issue. We've inherited this issue. We've been charged with fixing this issue, and we must fix it. We have to come up with a cost reduction plan that fixes this issue. So, that is what we have done here with this plan. We feel like it's a very solid plan that will move us forward, and in the future we will be a much healthier financial district, and we'll be able to do a lot of creative and neat things in the future with students and teachers and the classroom experience. In terms of the timeline, in the near future we will present this plan to the board, for them to take action on the plan. Whatever is approved by the board will be implemented starting July 1st. So the turnaround is fairly quick. That doesn't leave us a lot of time for organizing and planning, but if the board approves this cost reduction plan, these cost reductions will take effect on July 1st. And thank you all for listening in for this panel discussion. If you have questions or concerns, please visit our website. We'll have more information on the website. We'll have a Q&A on the website. You'll also be able to watch this video again, and also be able to watch the work session that we had with the board. And thank you.